Hello everyone, this is Monstertaming coming at you with another Kindred Fates team review video. Today we're going to be looking at Separated's team. So, right off, we have a kinfolk we haven't really been able to talk about yet in these reviews, which is Avian. We have a Black Mask Avian, and in case you're wondering, Avian's passive is Windbringer, turns null types into air types, which only really affects Homing Blast, but it is relevant. So with Avian Black Mask, you take a very squishy Avian, make it even squishier, but make its damage. You really lean into the glass cannon type build, which I personally think is the best build for Avian because Avian's not going to survive much very long anyways. But as well make the most of it while it's here. Razor Wind is an absolutely wonderful movement ability. It is like Rush but better. I find it pretty hard to hit with more than once in a row, and I don't really think it's worth hitting with Black Mask, but it is good to have. I would put that on my Avian for sure. Homing Blast is absolutely worth it, especially with Black Mask, especially if you debuff them, like down here with Skullkin. You can do huge damage to people with Homing Blast. Now this Avian is a melee Avian for the most part, which is very different to the Avian I try to play, but I'm bad at Avian, so, and Separated is good at Avian, so maybe that tells you something. Sharpen is a buff, which you know how I feel about buffs. I don't like them. But with Avian, it can work. Avian has the ability to get really far away if you're on maps like caverns or ruins, or heck, even Riverside. You can kind of make it work with Avian because Avian can quickly get away and then reset the fight and buff. And it does make Avian a absolute one-shotting machine. Now, maybe not quite one-shotting, but really, really high damage, and probably one-shot if you get a couple debuffs on them. Dive Bomb, incredibly hard to aim, incredibly good move. One of the most skill-intensive moves in the game, in my opinion, but also one of the best. And then Escape Draft is just wonderful. If you catch your opponent with Escape Draft, you're going to ruin their day. There's not really much else to say about that. And it's also useful for combos. Kadoki, we have a pretty bog standard Kadoki here, nothing really special about it, pretty meta. As his Aloe, has all of his standard abilities. You know, Stunner Flash, Spore Dance, stuff like that. This can make Avian's life a little bit easier. If you put some Stunner Flies down, they'll be having a harder time countering your Avian and whatnot. Moving on to Lumala, because this is where things get interesting. We have a Peach Lumala because there's no Imbear. You see, this is a no Imbear team, so you can afford to put that Peach on someone else. This Lumala has Light Burst, Righteous Light, Angelic Ray. Pretty standard. Righteous Light is Lumala's only real DPS. Angelic Ray is absolutely wonderful because it helps keep your team alive. You have Rush to help you move, get out of movement traps like Quicksand. And then Reflect. This is something I've realized I'm probably going to start using on my Lumala as well, because that Reflect, I think this is pretty much the new meta Lumala right here. You're looking at it, maybe even the Peach, you know, because the Lumala is very, very tanky because of Reflect. And this Reflect makes it so that you have to melee Lumala, essentially. Like I was fighting a Lumala duel versus Separated, and I was ahead pretty well in the duel, and then just Reflect destroyed me. Like, just Reflect is golden legendary, top tier on Lumala. It makes it so the only people that can really challenge you are melee kinfolk, but almost no one plays melee kinfolk, so it just elevates Lumala to an extremely high tier. And then we have Ration Skulkin. Everything about this Skulkin is pretty much bog standard. You have what you need. You got the nice little debuffs, you get the nice homing shot, you get the nice caustic cloud, you get the TP, much like I was talking about before in my previous video about View Senpai's team. It's just the rations work so well with everything else here. And Crescent Strike, I think, is probably going to be the meta for Skulkin over Dark Volley because of Reflect. When you have a Mechid or a Lumala with Reflect, you want someone with melee damage, and since it's usually not a great idea to go full melee, I think Skulkins using Crescent Strike will probably try to fill that role. And with the ranged attacks being near useless, like, I'm very much looking forward to the day where they either buff them back to their previous state or just add new abilities so I can take them off all my kinfolk. Crescent Strike is definitely a viable replacement. Very strong team. I have fought it, and I have died to it, and I have learned from it. I highly recommend this team if you are looking to get into some more advanced plays. This team does require a lot of advanced plays though, because that reflect is going to be advanced. Everything on Avion is advanced. Kadoki's pretty simple, and Skullkin I would probably put intermediate. But Kadoki is basically the only like beginner tier kinfolk here with his build is very simple to play, but everyone else you require some decent amount of game knowledge. But if you're willing to take a baptism by fire, you could even use this as your first team and then just try to learn on hard mode. But until next time, this has been Monstertaming, signing off. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Goodbye, God bless, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.